Gently close your eyes. If you're sitting in a chair, keep your spine stable with all the natural curves established. If you're sitting cross legs, observe the parts of the body which are grounded to the floor. Slowly find your spine naturally erect and make it more tall. Inhale and exhale slowly. Let the mind settle down along with the breath. And all the n number of thoughts converge into quietude. Align yourself, that peaceful absolute Brahman, the divine within. Staying in poise, just listen to the Dhyana shloka. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayet. Simple palming. In the previous class, we understood how establishing emotional space or psychological independence from the sense objects was essential. How do we establish this emotional space between sense organs and sense objects? Not by withering off, not by drying off, or not by emerging some kind of hatred towards the objects. Krishna is very particular in saying that rasavarcham rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. An enlightened being, the seeker, always finds his solace in the divine being, which is the highest rasa. What is highest rasa? Rasa, the word itself proclaims that it is eternal bliss. Even Veda speaks about the divine. Raso vai saha. Taittiriya Upanishad says, he is the rasa. He is the eternal bliss. So when all of your sense organs are engaged in a higher taste of bliss, they will not go to menial, cheap ones. Hence, the methodology Krishna gives here is, do not work on emotional distancing alone. You also work on aligning yourself within me. Within me is me, the real me, the natural self. Yeah. So abiding by the self is the grounding, is the rooting. When you are rooted out well there, and then practicing distance between sense organs and sense objects, that will be more legible, that will be more feasible to acquire pratyahara, mastery over sense organs. Why at all we have to master the sense organs? Again, in the previous class, we understood that mind We talk about in Yoga Shastra, we talk about Chitta Vritti Nirodha, mastery over mind. Mind is not one simple component. Mind is multidimensional in nature. We have to work upon sense organs. We have to work upon egotism. We have to work upon our memory, the deeper memories, the superficial memories. We have to work upon nidra, sleep. We have to work upon the collection of right knowledge and wrong knowledge, which is there in somewhere in the repository called intellect. You have to walk upon all the dimensions. So slowly, mind starts to delve deeper, mind starts to bend down to the divine inside. Hence, sense organs play a vital role. Now, in the next verse, 2.60, yes, 2.60, Krishna gives a cautionary advice, disclaimer. Why is it very, very essential? Why to work upon sense organs is mandatory. And he also gives this disclaimer, not to fear away all the sadhakas. It is not to scare you all. It is not to scare us all. We'll come to that after understanding the shloka. Okay, but it is just a disclaimer. 2.60. Yatato hyapi kaunteya Yatato hyapi kaunteya Purushasya vipaschitaha Purushasya vipaschitaha Indriyani pramathini Indriyani pramathini Haranti prasabham manaha Haranti prasabham manaha. Yatato hyapi kaunteya. Kaunteya is another name of Arjuna, as he is the son of Kunti. So, son of Kunti called Kaunteya. Hey Kaunteya, even with lots and lots of wisdom gained, even with scholarly wisdom gained by the wise men, even for them, it is very difficult. Why? What is very difficult? Difficult to restrain sense organs. Yatato hyapi, even with all the efforts, they are all wise and they are putting in efforts, they are totally isolating themselves from the entire universe, which is distracting, which are attracting. They are putting all their efforts by meditating, keeping their control in the self. Even with them, Indriyani pramathini, the sense organs are in such a manner that very powerful they are. They are very powerful. Haranti prasabham manaha. I'm going to give you a small example here. Like the jackal fights the enemy and takes the flesh, steals it away with all the force. This is how the sense organs take away your mind to their direction. The jackal thing is not here, but it is me who had added here. Haranti prasabam manama. Haranti means he steals away. They steal away. Prasabam with all force, with all power. Now, every word again is very, very important here. Okay. First, we'll start with the word vipaschitaha. Vipaschitaha. Vipaschitaha means verbose meaning is the wise, the scholarly, the pandit, you know. But Vipaschitaha is a person who had already envisioned divine being in him, who had already seen the divine being in him, which means he was into the state of samadhi. Unless until, even Adi Shankaracharya says in his interpretation, if you want to know yourself, you have to be it. You can't read, understand, comprehend with your mind and intellect, because these are all things which cannot catch the thing. So, if we say vipaschitaha, pascha, the root word in Sanskrit means to see. What did he see? Everybody sees, I see you, you see me, I see the entire universe. But what did this person see? And why is he called the wise? The wise sees the self. Wise perceives the self and hence enlightened. Now what is our general perception? Once this divine being had a glimpse, he is an enlightened being. Yeah, that is the general perception. But it is not so. Even in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, we see 13 to 16 layers of samadhi, where he says samadhi is not the end. Samadhi is just the beginning. So, vipaschitaha, even the wise who had already experienced the real self, envisioned the divine being within him, will have problems. This is not to scare. This is to just understand that when we do, see, the first word is yatataha, yatato, yatataha. Yatataha means efforts put in. What happens when you do a piece of work with all efforts put in? There is this sense of doership that comes up. No, I am painting. I am writing a research paper. There's a sense of doership that occurs. So what is he trying to reveal? Krishna is trying to reveal, perhaps this is for me, this is how I perceive when he says, if you are putting efforts in mastering the sense organs, if you're putting efforts in aligning yourself, at one point of time, because of the efforts put in, you will be envisioning the divine being, but will it be a sustainable one? Cannot be. Why not? Because when the efforts are put, there is this ego that is playing the role. In sadhana, the sadhaka should always understand, the spiritual aspirant should always understand, in his sadhana, it can be yoga sadhana, asana, pranayama, kriya, it can be meditation, or it can be jnana yoga also. Like what we do now. What are we doing? Shravana, listening to the scripture. Manana. Manana is that which is not in the recorded version. Huh? We are discussing about it. We are trying to delve deeper into the subject matter. We are trying to logically analyze, because this is human beings' mind. Even if there is a supralogical thing that is being explained to us, we will apply logic to understand. So, manana is continuous repetition of the same subject matter so that we try to gain clarity. And the third step is nididhyasana, trying to apply that in our life or being the principle itself. No? There are many political leaders, famous ones, the good ones, the nationalists, so-called nationalists, because they lived with the principles that have been perhaps uh, provided by them or by their ideals. They lived with it. That is nididhyasana. Yeah? So imbibing other than imparting is nididhyasana. Being that principle. Now, this is also a sadhana, Jnana Yoga sadhana. You are doing in all the three stages: listening, analyzing, recapitulating, and then imbibing. All these works are being done by you. So, sadhaka at one point understands that this is done by me. When he forgets that sadhana is pure grace, sadhana continues and follows only with pure divine grace. When he forgets that, then there is efforts put in. When he forgets that, then there is so much of identification, false identification with the ego. Hence, even the wise, even the scholarly, even people who had understood, learnt all the scriptures, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Vedic scriptures, can slip. Can slip. One is this point, that the intervention of the ego. But the second, most powerful, comes in the second line. Indriyani pramathini. Indriyani means sense organs. Indriya means sense organ. Indriyani is the plural form, sense organs. Pramathini. Pramathini is nothing but manthana, like churning. How do you take the butter away from the buttermilk? You churn the buttermilk, and then the butter comes out. Yeah. So indriyas, the sense organs, have this extreme power to churn your entire body. Churn the entire body as if so many nerve impulsions are created. If that article is not got by me, if I couldn't accomplish my goal, if yeah, that's the thing. If I cannot accomplish my goal, if I cannot get that article, there's something weird happening to my mind. There's something weird happening to my body. That kind of churning happens. And this is because of those powerful sense organs. Interestingly, Ayurveda, the science of health of Indian Shastras, speaks about this. When you trigger more of sense pleasures, when you start to buy branded clothes, focus upon the scratch of the car more, you are more towards shopping, and then feel like only after shopping I feel so happy, I feel so relaxed. Going out, seeing all the lights make me happy. Constant touch with people's gathering, all such things will loot your mind away from the precious jewel. So Ayurveda Shastra says these sense organs are doing so much harm that it drains the prana. What I was mentioning in the previous class, it drains the prana as if churning the entire powerhouse of your cell and pushing it away. Eventually, too much of sweets and carbs intake, one becomes diabetic. Eventually, if we see too much of keeping us awake, watching televisions in the nights, too much of smartphones, puts the person to the state of insomnia, and then slowly towards emotional imbalance, hormonal imbalance, hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism, another endocrinal, malendocrinal functioning. Too much of salt intake, too much of spicy, soury intake takes the person to be hypertensive. It is not only food intake, just as I was mentioning in the previous class. It is all the intake that you put through your sense openings. These are these holes. All the ingestion and hyper ingestion, excessive ingestion of such food, ahara, to the sense organs is not good. And hence Ayurveda Shastra clearly, as if takes the finger of the child and then shows it, this is A, this is me. Clearly indicates that do not fuel your sense organs more. You will end up having some disease, having some roga or the other. Indriyani pramathini. They churn away, they churn the pranic, reservoir, and then take it out. That's how they do. Haranti. They are the luteras. They are these dacoits. They are the thieves. in Vairagya Dindima, there is this shloka that I wanted to say. Kamascha, krodascha, lobascha, dehe tishtanti taskaraha, jnanaratna apaharaya, tasmat jagrata, jagrata. There are certain thieves who reside in your body. They are ready, ever ready, watching. And once when you give way to them, switch off the lights and then lock your house and move away, you get away from your house, jnana ratna apaharaya. There is this ratna, there is this jewel that you have, which is nothing but your wisdom, yourself. So they are waiting to loot the wisdom of yours away. Hence the author says, tasmat, therefore, jagrata, jagrata, behold, be careful. What are those thieves? Kamascha, krodascha, lobascha. Anger, lust, anger, and greed. Who are the parents of lust, anger, and greed? The sense organs are the parents of lust, anger, and greed. So, the thieves are not outside. Even Vedic scriptures talks about such thieves. They say that self-realization is the only wealth that we've got. Realizing ourselves, being in the self. Atmanubhava, experiencing every drink, every gulp, every taste, every bit of that blissful experience is the jewel, is the wealth. All the other things that takes you away from this stage are those thieves. Vritti sarupyam itaratra. Patanjali also says, all the other things are filled with vritti, are filled with inhibitions, filled with whirlpool-like situations which will bring you down. Only when you are aligned with yourself, you're truly saved, protected, no worry can touch you, nobody can snatch your happiness away. This happiness, how do I term this happiness? How do I understand this blissful experience in a better manner? I call this happiness as independent. When you think, close your eyes, rewind your events of life and think, when were you happy? Oh, I was in the giant wheel with few of my friends. I was happy. There are always objects and people around, and then you take that state to be happy. You are dependent upon something, and then you feel I am happy, which is untrue. The real happiness will be independently happy without the means and source of any objects or people around, or even situations for that matter, circumstances for that matter. So the first factor of being happy, of being blissful, is the happiness has to be independent. When happiness is permanent, then it is called the bliss. What happens when we are happy? Few moments we are happy, few days we are happy, few months we are happy. We were discussing about the temperature, the weather today. How was the weather when the winter just befallen? It was so nice. It was so nice. Oh, the first shade of winter, lovely. And then few months passes, the same winter kills us. Yeah. So there is always a discontinuance in the state of being happy in this worldly life, which is constantly saying, when there is discontinuance, it cannot be true. So focus on the blissful experience, which is independent, permanent. The third factor is unwavering. Nobody else, no king, no ruler, no dictator, no millionaire, billionaire has the prowess to snatch your happiness away. Nothing can disturb this state of happiness. So, what is bliss? What is that we are trying to learn in Vedanta, in Yoga Shastra? Or what is moksha? What is freedom? Freedom is this: to understand the significance of unwavering, permanent, independent happiness and then move towards it. All those things which will distract from this path of ours are the looters, are the stealers, are the thieves. The most potent ones are our sense organs. And when the sense objects are not acquired according to the frame of mind that we have got, we get angry, krodha. We are more lustful. Lust is not only with the opposite partners. Lust is not the kind of love that we are thinking about. Lust can be any intense love. Any intense love. No, sometimes people call profession is my passion. If it is passion, then you will be in this profession for next 15 years. Why? What happens after 15 years? You'll get tired. Because every passionate athlete also has his expiry date. Okay. So anything in extreme, which is lovable, which is passionate, can also be called as lust, kama. And thanks to the uprise of social media of nowadays, that even the people who hasn't much of the luxury and comfort has a mobile phone today, knows how to creep into others' lives and see, watch things about the others, which happily they broadcast about themselves in Facebooks and stuff. And suddenly there is this creeping of another evil enemy, evil thief, which is greed. When this person can do, why can't I do? Oh, I'm not happy with my husband. How is she moving to Europe? You were a normal person. You had your own life. But the moment you come into contact with some sense object, I don't know why is it called sense. It is all insensible. Some sense object, and you start to become more evil and evil. Does that mean being in Facebook and social media is wrong? No. Again, understand the fact that how are we employing this luxury? Or are we disemploying ourselves because of the luxury? So, Krishna is very clear in saying this, that the sense organs are very, very powerful. They can loot you, they can pull you down, they can rip you down to rags because they are very powerful. They can churn your energy out. And this is not for a normal layman I'm speaking. It is very difficult even for the wise, even for the person who had once envisioned his self. It is even difficult for them. Now I'll conclude. This shloka is a little more emphatic than the previous one. Yeah. Now you know the string of all the shlokas. See how the tortoise moved all his limbs inside when there is a case of risk or danger upcoming. Why that example was given? Yeah, that is very important. So when you feel that this constant engaging of my sense organs with that object is getting excessively, unimaginably high, flinch yourself away. Contract all your limbs inside. Why? Why should I do it? Let me enjoy the world. Okay, you enjoy the world. Then enjoying the world not only gives pleasure, it also gives pain to you. That was the second string. So, what do you have to do? If you want to have only pleasure and control over the sense organs, go take yourself the refugee unto the higher truth, the higher rasa, the higher elixir, which is more permanent in nature, which is more unwavering in nature, which is more independent in nature. When you take that stand, then all these low-lying, lifeless sense objects go without rasa, go without any taste. They become tasteless to you, all wither away on its own, just like how it happened in the case of an enlightened soul. Yeah, that's the second line of shloka, the previous shloka. What is today's shloka saying? It is very, very important, even for a sadhaka, even for a non-sadhaka, to focus on how to disengage ourselves from the sense objects, and by grounding ourselves, rooting ourselves to the higher truth. Because even he is an enlightened soul, even if he is a true aspirant, Indriyas are not these eyes, ears, mouth, nose that you see in your face, dears. These are not the 12 pairs of cranial nerves that we are thinking about. These are the inputs that we have been carrying for n number of lives. If I am having a constant affinity towards Romanians, yeah, being an Indian, I don't know, I'm in somewhere far away, far away, miles away from you people. It means there had been an input in the previous life. It is a sense organ's affinity. Krishna says, behold. What is wrong? Your affinity, you have close affinity to me. Good, it is good. We are closely knit. Wonderful. We can love each other. But slowly what happens? Romanian versus Germans. I have closely affinity towards Romanians. See how the sense organs and the sense inputs are driving me. Okay. So this is exactly we are moving into the firehouse as if like a game that we are going to play. The house is on a fire, but we are moving into the house with all our eyes watching, but we perceive it to be the game. That is madness. Hence Krishna says, no, disengage yourself. Slowly, unwanted inputs will be erased. And then even the last remnant of desire also drops. And this is very important. To have pure love for Romanians, to be interlinked all the time, and at the same time work in your sadhana. This is not only for spiritual life that we are talking about. It is also to have good quality of life at family, because home is the first unit. Yeah. You can't just fight home and then say, I'm going to be a sannyas and renunciate, I'll go away. I'll become a great saint. No. If you're a saint, you would be a great saint at home first. Yeah. So working here and working beyond. Again, I'll again conclude with a few words of assurance, assuring you that this shloka is not to scare all the sadhakas away. Oh my God, this is going to be very difficult. He is saying that even when I could pass the layer of samadhi, I can be driven away. There can be a slip, there can be a fall. My God. What is Krishna talking about? So understand, Krishna is not scaring you away. Krishna is saying in the 12th, you will come to know in the 12th chapter, Name Bhaktaha Pranashyati. Not one devotee of mine will destroy. I will not make them fall. Who is a devotee here? If you go and look at the 12th chapter, you will see all the qualities of a jnani. You will see all the qualities of an enlightened soul. And he calls him to be a bhakta. He calls him to be the devotee. When he says me, he is not talking about the form of Lord Krishna. He is talking about self. Hence, take refuge in you, in me. Take refuge in that pure self, and he will not make you fall. Because as we see, sadhana is not done by sadhaka, not done. Done word does not suit in that statement itself. It happens with divine grace. It's a fruit that falls from the tree. It can't be plucked away. So, disclaimer, there's a shloka was definitely a disclaimer, but with an assurance that he is always going to guide you. And in the coming shlokas also, in the coming chapters also, Arjuna asks this question very specifically. Krishna, you tell me that okay, I'm going to be in the sadhana, the jnana sadhana, and then one fine day I die. What happens to me? Krishna answers to this stupid question also. He says the next birth that you take, you will take up from there. Nothing goes waste. Just like that account ledger book where the amount of 30,000, yeah, 30,000 is carried forward and then brought down on the next page. Yeah, it's the same way. We carry forward all the punyas, all the merits of the sadhana, and then brings us back in the next birth. Nothing goes waste. Hence, you see, Narendra, when the boy Narendra, Swami Vivekananda was not even 6, 7, he closed his eyes and then he goes into samadhi. How is this possible for a 6-year-old guy? Who was his guru? He used to think that everybody sleeps like this. When he closes his eyes and goes to sleep, he sees large, huge flame of fire, light before him, and then slowly the fire starts to engulf him, his existence, and then he goes to sleep. This he writes in his book. And then he thinks everybody sleeps in the same manner. And what was his play like? In his childhood, everybody plays with a football, everybody plays with dolls, with cars. And this guy plays, come, let's play meditation. Dhyan dhyan khelenge. And he asks everybody to sit and then says, close your eyes. And this guy goes to samadhi, he himself. The other guys are opening their eyes and seeing what is happening. Nothing is happening. Oh, nothing is so entertaining. There's no game at all. Why Naren is so, uh, dry in playing. He's so bored. No? And then suddenly a snake comes. Every boy runs away. Naren's friend says, Naren, get up. There is a snake. Naren doesn't get up. The snake was just in front of him, pays his namaste salutations, and then moves away without even harming the bird. And this we read in a cartoon novel of Swami Vivekananda's stories. Huh? How is this even possible? Name bhaktaha pranashyati. The divine does not make any of his bhakta, any of his sadhaka, any of his devotee to slip, to fall. The next birth, he comes with all the inputs, all the meritorious inputs. So we will march onward with Swamiji's inspiration. We will also work with our sense organs, sense objects input. Questions?